All right, what is going on, guys? War in space. U.S. officials debating rules for a conflict in orbit, but why? This is something that we've talked about many times, and this is getting really, really, really odd. Of course, we've talked about how at least three Space Force commanders have said that we are officially at war in space. But again, the people are like, oh, what are you talking about? Of course, there's supposed to be peace in space, but it says UKR's use of commercial satellites to help repel the Russian invasion bolstered the U.S. Space Force's interest in exploiting the capabilities of the private sector to develop new technologies for fighting a conflict in space. It says, but the possible reliance on private companies and the revolution in technology has made satellites smaller and more powerful. It is facing the Defense Department to wrestle with the difficult questions about what to do if those privately owned satellites are targeted by an adversary. So let me get rid of this real quick. So if you notice, they have talked a lot about space in the last 2 years. And of course, since Space Force was formed, which was like out of left field, people made fun of Space Force when it first came out. When they first announced that, Trump was making a Space Force, people were laughing. They were like, oh, it's a complete joke. What's funny is after he was out of office, nobody is calling it a joke. It is, now a legitimate branch of the military. But there has been a lot that has been going on above our heads. We've been seeing all sorts of stuff up there, and we don't know what's UFO or USA. It says that the White House and Pentagon officials have been trying to determine what policy should be since a top Russian official said in October that Russia could target the growing fleet of commercial satellites if they are used to help UKR. Konstantin Vorontsov, deputy director of the Russian Foreign Ministry's Department of Non-Proliferation and Arms, called the growth of privately operated satellites an extremely dangerous trend that goes beyond the harmless use of outer space technologies and has become apparent during the last developments in Ukraine. It says that he warned that quasi-civilian infrastructure may become a legitimate target for retaliation. In response, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre reiterated earlier comments from the counterpart at the Pentagon, saying any attack on U.S. infrastructure will be met with a response, as you've heard from my colleague, in a time and manner of our choosing. So most of the stuff from specifically the White House press secretary, she basically has a script. Every one of them ever has. They're supposed to spin things. Whatever happens, whatever scandal, they're supposed to spin it into something else. Well, this, of course, she is basically repeating what she was told to say, and it is definitely purposeful how they put that out. So we'll talk about that. I would love to get you some of your opinions on this. A conflict right above us. Is it already going on, or is it soon to be? I'd love to hear from you. Also, we'll be talking about all of the events that have happened in the last 24 hours. There's a whole lot. And again, there is China, Russia, UKR, Iran, Iraq, all sorts of things to go over. So we'll be right back right after this. Stick around. This is a live show, so anything can happen. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we're going to go over a lot of stories. So remember, you can always go over to marfooglenews.com and you can find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to show you here today. That way you will know exactly what we are getting these from, the source for it. If somebody goes, well, what's your source? You can go to our website and find it there. You'll see it's all done by thumbnail. Just look for Space War and then, of course, Rules of Engagement. Once you go there, you'll see every single article is right there at your fingertips. Not only that, there is a whole lot more at the very bottom. When you go to the bottom, you'll see a yellow bar called Overflow. That is all the stuff that could not fit into the show. So some of the more boring stuff, and then, of course, more of the crazy exciting stuff that you would get in a fight in a bar if you started talking about. So make sure to go check that out as well. There's an entire other section. We'll go over that at the very end of the show with Dex, and he'll highlight some of the crazier ones. Let's speaking of Dex, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So going back to the first piece here, they're obviously looking at the framework of what the rules would be in space. So wouldn't that kind of point out that there's about to be some sort of space conflict, right?
I totally agree. I mean, we have the earliest examples of this already with Elon and his involvement earlier in the UKR, and then his pullback when he said, hey, I'm going to pull back because if we don't, we could potentially be responsible for starting the great, next conflict. And so it's a really interesting challenge, I think, because when you think about these private companies that are up there and the actions and activities that they could perform or do, or even things they may do that could actually then put our military in a position where they have to either defend it or be instigated over actions of our commercial companies. So it is a very interesting challenge, but at the same time, I don't think it's that difficult for them to figure out. It's not like tomorrow they're going to shut down all commercial space and they're just going to say everything has to be militarized. But I certainly think that we're going to see a much tighter union and some regulations around what actions can be performed and what kind of approvals may need to be garnered for any changes up there from our private companies like SpaceX.
And it goes in, obviously there's going to be a lot of debates on what is okay. I'm sure they have already made up their mind. Like everything that is going into this is something that the public won't know, but the governments have already talked about, and that's probably what they've been talking about at a lot of these meetings that are closed doors. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, pop into chat if you want. I would love to say hello. And again, thank you all of the mods. If you haven't already, make sure to support them by going over to their channel and subscribing. All of them are volunteering to make this a peaceful place. Again, they're doing an awesome job down there, keeping the chat, again, mostly on topic and, of course, positive. Some of the few rules is just don't put anybody else down. And don't get in arguments that, just get out of control. That's pretty much it. And then, of course, no Satan worshiping, and that's about it. And then 28 girls rushed to hospital after playing with a Ouija board at school. So I don't know about your parents, but my mom was adamant. We never touched a Ouija board ever. My sisters and I never, ever were allowed even near one. I'm sure a lot of you were probably the same, or your parents were at least. It says a group of girls were rushed to the hospital after playing with a Ouija board at school. The 28 youngsters passed out while using the seance set at Belarus Educational Institution in Colombia. They were hospitalized with signs of fainting, anxiety, and other symptoms. It says the school's directors and concerned teachers accompanied the students to hospital. It said the head of the Belarus Educational Institution, Hugo Torres, said that there were 28 possible cases of anxiety. What? It says, given the reported cases, a series of comments were unleashed on the community that rather than helping to resolve the situation, led to confusion and to adverse environment for our work. It says these students were referred to the local municipal hospital according to protocols in place. So this is super weird. First of all, they're basically saying that they used a Ouija, and because of anxiety, 28 children at the same time had some sort of, panicking thing. Sorry, guys. I don't know what is going on with this dang thing. It is a live show. Anything can happen. Okay. Sounds like the fuzz is gone. You guys, I don't even know if you hear that when it does get fuzzy. I'm sure you probably do, but because your phone speakers aren't probably that great in the first place. But gosh, sometimes this mic cord, I got to get a new one. What do you guys think about this? Have you ever dealt with a Ouija board? Have you ever used one? And again, most people won't admit it because you're around a lot of people that are like, never use one. But most people in one fashion or another have been somewhere where somebody was using it, your friends used it, or you used it. I know, Dex, we've talked about the Ouija boards before, and I know that you had a family that, was absolutely against them as well. Dex, did you ever say that? Did you use one back in the day when you were a kid?
No, I've seen one at a friend's house, but no, I would never use it. My family was adamant about it, but personally I was too. And I had friends that did and had some really crazy experiences. And I was like, yeah, that's not for me.
So I bet something is going to come out of this. Of course, people are going to go, oh, it's because they used the Ouija board. And honestly, in the times we live in right now, I would not be surprised if that was like a smiting from God directly. But there also could be something that pops out of this. They might say that there was something released into that space or something, a gas leak or something, bad. And you could still say that's like a sign right there. Even if they were really scared and they, one of the kids was moving it around or a devil was moving it around, what would be so scary that 28 kids get such bad anxiety that they almost faint? Or this could also be some sort of prank that they were all in on and essentially, are doing it for clout or something, and secretly they're doing it on TikTok or something. What do you guys think? They say the school is waiting for the medical diagnoses to provide further reliable information. So don't mess with the Ouija boards. That, I guess, is the moral of the story so far. Let's see here. Let me go over to the chat and pop it up. Let's see here. Whole bunch of Iranian school girls were poisoned. I believe we actually may. Do we have the Iranian schoolgirls in overflow?
I thought we did it the other day.
Yeah, I think we did that 2 days ago, or yesterday, or the day before. Where in Constantine? Let's see here. Serena, Canadian Wolverine. We've got Miss B, Lone Wolf, says don't open evil portals. Nasty dark vortices, says Lady L. 28 people cannot stay quiet. Indie Media Matters. Yeah, like one of them would bust out and say, oh, we were just joking or something. Paul Snasney, it says it was black magic. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Released Demons, Maniac Media. Donna Honey, demonic stuff. So it says they're not real. Ilea says our Ouija board was in with Monopoly. I know people that absolutely 100% believe them. I know people that have had it happen. I'm sure that there's like the ones you can buy at Target or whatever. But there are some that have backstories as well. Some of those, I know that my friend's mom had a legitimate one that was made in Africa. And that one was really creepy because it had like a shaman's blessing or something on it. That one was made from real wood. And from my Cuban friend who him and his friends did it, they absolutely swear they will never touch one ever again, that they had it move and it spelled out things that nobody could have guessed, that it spelled out things about their family members that had passed that none of them knew. So yeah, there's some creepy stuff out there. I do believe there's evil. Bread fungus or something. It's Summoning Circle passed off as a game. Yeah. Ghetto. Marf, what up? Did you see Erin Brockovich was put on domestic terrorist list? I did see her on Twitter that she was commenting on the Ohio stuff. That doesn't surprise me at all. Startled Mouse and Vic Badgerworthy. Thank you, everybody that's popping into chat right now. Thank you guys for popping up. Speaking of which, obviously things are going to get a lot more bad. If you have anxiety and if you're easily stressed out, to be honest, most of the rest of the show is some pretty scary stuff. You might want to tune out. I know it's after just the first article, but we have a lot of really anxiety-causing stories coming up. So please tune out if you're easily scared for your own good. If you don't like scary movies, don't watch scary movies. Past this point, you shouldn't complain if this is fear this or fear that, because you're here voluntarily. It says that all signs point to imminent Israeli attack on Iran. It says Israel is preaching a credible military threat against Iran for years. What's happening that makes now the time to act on the threat? So we've talked about this for weeks about, of course, this Israel saying we're going to basically take out facilities in Iran, whether you are a part of it or not, speaking to USA and other countries, saying we're going to do this with or without your help. This is World War III type stuff. Dex, do you want to go over what happened here and why they think that this is imminent?
So the saga of this is going, it's rapidly changing. So there's a lot going back and forth. So what recently happened was the head of the International Atomic Agency, Rafael Grossi, met with Iranian officials and then issued a statement saying that it would be, quote unquote, illegal for anyone to carry out an attack on a nuclear facility. So this really got the prime minister, Benjamin, upset and is. So he's, he responded that says it's an unworthy assertion. And then he insinuated that maybe he was coerced to say that because he was in their country and had to meet with them and look at their facilities. So this notion that they're trying to make it illegal would, I don't know what it changes, like whose legality, would control that. But it's certainly at least a talking point in the public opinion that's coming out. Now, mind you, last Friday, Mark Milley was meeting with them. Before that, we had the huge drills that the U.S. and did together, which were all about going after the nuclear facilities. And then later this week, Lloyd Austin is supposed to do the same thing and meet with the country of in their country. So all of this is going on, and it's certainly looking much more like things are moving forward. But this one wrinkle that's thrown up here, I don't think it's enough to stop it, but it certainly is one that caused a bit of a kerfuffle between, the prime minister and the statement coming out of the IAEA.
So the more that and there's wars and rumors of wars, of course, but these two countries are more likely than any to have some sort of huge blowout because of their past and their history with each other. But with Iran to the store, that country now has shown at least evidence, and who knows, they can fake anything nowadays, but that they have these underground missile bases. They also have underground airports. They can actually launch jets from underneath mountains. So now there was some talk on Twitter. Some folks were saying that couldn't knock out those unless they had certain U.S. supplies or these bunker busters that we haven't given or something. But I believe Israel does have these crazy bunker busters, and I swear we covered that like 2 or 3 years ago that they had these. So could they do that? One thing I thought about is if you did bunker bust something like that, a base with all these missiles and explosives, I mean, would you, if it did get down there and go boom, would it blow up everything and would it take a mountain out? Like, I think that would be an explosion that I don't think anybody wants to see, but probably wouldn't want to miss. Or probably the whole world wouldn't miss it, right? But as far as this goes, if you have information on this, if you are former or current military and you know something that we don't and you want to correct us or tell us something that, of course, would help us, figuring out how close this really is, let us know. Adam at marfooglenews.com or Dex at marfooglenews.com or both. Thank you, everybody that has popped in already over on DLive. DLive, thank you. I can access the DLive now. Michelle K, Vicky K, Cognitable says Saul used a medium to talk to spirits. Inadvisable. Yeah, that's for sure. And then let's see here, popping over to YouTube. Thank you, by the way, Lori Oder for the super thanks after the show on the replay. Said thanks. And then just just moments in time. Says, thanks, Marf. You are loved by many. Ignore those who take time from your listeners. Love this space. Mods, Dex, and fam. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And then Ray the Way, thank you for your support this week. Paul, MX Katsuni, Greg Davis says, don't look up. And then everybody would have access, but those who drop a few dollars would have certain privileges. Only show I support. Strongly, Adam shouldn't have a side job. Stephen McMahon, thank you. Show is valuable, boys. If you need to, so you don't have to work construction, why not charge a subscription that would get certain perks? Either way, by the way, I actually like what I'm doing right now, and I get to learn a lot of new stuff. So, YouTube, I believe, is going to, not just for myself, but everybody, if something happens, I am learning skills. I want to be able to live, I want to be able to build a house. Like, I actually want to be able to build things. I always loved carpentry, and I've always liked, I want to learn to do everything. I don't know all of that stuff now, but I'm definitely learning. So I really want to be able to build a basic structure all by myself without help. So that's one of my goals. So it is actually valuable to me. Show is valuable, boys. If you need to, why not charge a subscription fee? We've talked about like the what do you call it? The I forget what they call it, the members thing, but you have to figure out a balance to it, so it's not unfair to anybody. Feathers and Flowers, thank you. Carol McLean, thank you. And then Ryan B, appreciate you guys' level-headed insight and delivery of distressing news. Yeah, there's a lot of it tonight, but again, people should be complacent when when it gets crazy, and you should, when everybody else is complacent, you should be somewhat worried. Like, that's the point. You want to be on your toes. You have to keep your head on a swivel. Head on a swivel is a cliche saying that's said all over the place, but people should take it seriously. People should always be aware of their surroundings. People should always be aware of what is going on around the world. People are very stuck in their bubbles right now. As you guys know, if you try to tell your friends and family anything about what's going on, you even have sources and links. You know that they make fun of it? Dex, this is what irritates me. I turned on Mark Marone, a HBO comic special, and I used to like him, but he did a whole set on how anti-woke comics are actually not getting jobs because they're just not funny. He went into all of these crazy things. But he said all of this stuff that was just like over the top. These comics are like just people in general are making fun of the fact that, now dumb people are like, oh, well, what's your source? So people are dumb. And I've heard this in multiple places where that now people are like, well, what's your source for that, right? That should be how it is. And then talked about how everybody has a different source. That is true. Like how people have CNN or MSNBC or this, and people don't trust that source. They have made it so bad to where 50 and 50% of people do not believe the other source. We actually showed you the polls that they did, and it's like right-leaning people don't trust the left news, left-leaning people don't trust the right news, and then even, more neutral platforms like BBC, which used to be in this like middle part where everybody believed them, they have just completely fallen off the map and nobody trusts them. It's like, how did this happen? Well, I think it's because they did a lot of censorship, that a lot of government and corporations got involved with media, and it's been this way for years, but it's like now there's like 10% truth and 90% BS and narrative that's being fed to us. And that's why everybody is over here. And then they realized they were taking you, the viewer, people like us should not have 5,000 people here watching live. That's insane. If you look at any gamer that has that, that would be like a ninja or something, right? But if you look at how many people are watching this content or any of my peers, it far outweighs what they're actually watching on TV. And they know that. So the corporations that were losing money on their ad dollars, they started coming over here and trying to mess things up so people would be stuck going back to the regular news. But it's just not going to work anymore. That's why they're all going over to YouTube and other platforms. But they're still not doing the well. You can't have these advertising marketing teams figure out how to be genuine or truthful. It just doesn't work. So I don't know, man. I think it's crazy how bad it is right now. And then Expanse, Ray, the way I did check that out. Thank you so much for the comment there last night. All right, and let's see here. A lot more to go. Residents in China told to use umbrellas as city is hit by a rainstorm of worms. Yeah. Baffled Beijing residents were warned to use umbrellas after it started raining worms in the Chinese capital city. In recent days, a video has gone viral on social media showing rain of worms in the streets of the capital with the slimy bugs covering cars. It says El Heraldo, and I don't think that's El Heraldo, reported that Beijing residents were told that if it was recommended to leave their home with umbrellas. Dex, they're not joking. There was actual worms coming out of the sky. Is that? I don't think that's in the Bible, is it?
Well, some are suggesting it's end times, but yeah, they don't have an explanation yet. There's everybody's pontificating on what it could be. Some are saying it's poplar flowers, which is from a poplar tree in the area that has seeds that when the flowers fall, it can be confused as a caterpillar. Others are suggesting the worms were dropped off after being swept up by strong storms. And then, of course, some people are saying it's the end of times. It's a sign. But yeah, I've heard of cats and dogs and frogs, but here it is, worms. So this is, I'd be pretty freaked out if this was falling on my head. You definitely don't want to be looking up with worms coming down on you.
No, and worms are probably one of my least favorite, along with spiders. I don't know why I've always been freaked out by worms, slugs, and spiders. Spiders, everybody is, nobody likes, but worms just gross me out. Imagine them falling on you. I don't understand this. Are we going to find out that a plane went overhead and dropped some? How? I that's what I don't understand. If you have a theory, let me know in the comments down below, especially if you're watching the replay. Say hi, say whatever down there, please. And then Taiwan suspects Chinese ships cut island's internet cables. So something seems like it is really, really happening here. You would think that if the internet cables get cut, which we've seen kind of these dry runs, there was where all of the webcams went off on Taiwan last year or probably a year and a half ago or something like that. And people were really thinking this is about to go down. There was a fire at a power plant that they said was, had resulted in that. I wonder about this because this is pretty freaky. It says in the past month, bed and breakfast owner Chen Julin had to tell his guests that they couldn't provide them with the internet. Others living on Matsu, one of Taiwan's outlying islands closer to neighboring China, had to struggle with paying electricity bills, making doctor's appointment, or receiving a package. It says for connecting to the outside world, Matsu's 14,000 residents rely on 2 submarine internet cables leading to Taiwan's main island. It says the National Communications Commission, citing that the island's telecom service blamed 2 Chinese ships for cutting the cables. It said that the Chinese fishing vessel is suspected of severing the first cable some 50 kilometers or 31 miles out at sea. 6 days later, on February 8th, a Chinese cargo ship cut the second. It says NCC. Taiwan's government stopped short of calling it a deliberate act on the part of Beijing, and there is no direct evidence to show that Chinese ships were responsible. But still, you have to understand, most of the war games and simulations we've seen is that they would take the smaller islands first. And if they don't have an actual hard line to the island, that would make it a whole lot easier to cut communications. If they do something to the surface level, antennas, whatever, radio comms that they have, or knock out their power, then they won't be able to connect through landline and they won't be able to connect through radio. How fast can they replace these? And in that time frame, say it takes 3 months to replace it, that might be a sign that in the next 3 months or however long it takes to fix these things, that they might be trying to do this right now. Just saying. Dex, this is kind of alarming. I guess they say it could be an accident, right? But one is an accident. What is it? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you? Or is it reverse? I think I got that reverse.
I think you got it reverse, but that's okay. Let's talk about what it would really mean. So if this was an accident, it would probably look like a ship had decided to sit in a position, drop an anchor, and the anchor line dragged across and broke something. That would be a logical explanation. What other explanation does a ship have going through an area that is dragging the ground and cutting things as it goes? It's got to be. And so when you look at what happened here, the first ship they actually gave chase to, the authorities went after it and they chased it all the way into Chinese waters, and they couldn't follow it anymore. So they don't know what happened there. But if they gave chase, that's a sign that there may have been something else going on, because you would have thought they'd say, "Hey, we're sorry, we were just anchoring and it was an accident," and everybody would, you know, it wouldn't be a great thing, but it wouldn't be a as bad as it is. But for it to happen back to back on both lines, it almost seems like a test. This in my opinion could be a test run of using something and using a commercial vehicle, like a ship, a fishing vessel or something like that, so it's more inconspicuous. It's not a military ship going through that's able to do this, and see if they can get away with it and get out of there. And that's exactly what happened. I don't know if that's just my opinion. That's not the facts, but the facts are both were cut 2 different times back to back, both from non-military ships, but were from China. And one of them they gave chase to, and couldn't get to it before it got back into China's waters.
What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to head over to the chat real quick. Thank you, everybody, for popping in, by the way. Let's see. Lisa Arhall, hey, by the way, I don't know if you've updated everybody on your daughter. How is she doing, Lisa? And then Lady Yell, Mary Nidri. I know you have to kind of find it out by kind of a way around, but Charles B., what is happening? Carol McLean, Zen1AZ, hates spiders, no spiders, wolves. Julia Spencer, hello, how are you doing? Craig DeHunter, Sign Digger, Monk Searcher. Julia, by the way, if that's okay for you to say. That's the whole point. If nobody goes over these headlines, and by the way, you have 5,000 people sitting around you, or 3,000 or whatever is there, these people, you get an instant response. I mean, think about this, a poll that these big mainstream media outlets use. You'll see this poll and it will say 67%. And you'll actually look at the number of people polled and it will be like 100 people. A good poll in like all of these mainstream things, you'll see it's like out of 10 people polled, or out of 100 people polled, it said 1 out of 10 did this. Right now, if you see an article and if you see it's BS and everybody says it's BS, then you know for yourself. That's more valuable than anything right there, right then. So if I don't say that article, then how are you going to know what everybody says, the general poll from your community and from your actual peers? That's kind of the point of this. It's not so much the show, it's the community here. That's what makes it really, really good. Let's see here. Indie media matters. I love your name, by the way. Independent does matter. Thank you. Again, I thank you for even getting that out there. Antenna, Michael Johnson, what is happening? James Meyer, mash that like, everybody. Thank you. I never ask people to do that. Worms are a curse sign, I think, says Copper Norman. Wormwood in Revelations. Canadian Wolverine, great point. Well, I mean, it's true. Think about it. If we say, we should almost like every headline say, have like 2 words that rhyme, like bussin' or disgusting or something. I don't know. You get what I'm saying. Let's see. Bloodstripe is here. Sweatnam Ministries. Nice to see you. Says End Times, definitely. When you say that, people get hurt by that. People are like, they push back on that. They say, no, it's not. I guess why not just let Sweatnam and anyone else think it's End Times? We all can think independently. All right, before we move on, we're going to talk about the Philippines launches strategy of publicizing Chinese actions. I do want to let you guys know this is really awesome. First of all, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but make sure to go over and check out the energy tab now, because there is a new product. We'll talk about it later. There is now a tactical Energy Flex 1500 that was made with the U.S. Army and Air Force. So go check that out. We'll talk about that later. But first, again, EMP shield. If you do want to protect yourself against any kind of electromagnetic pulse. All 3 phases of an EMP are covered with this, or a CME. This device can ground the signal in less than 500 trillionth of a second before it's able to fry your devices. This can be there's different devices for different things. You can get one for your cars, your trucks, your motorcycles, your boats, your generators, your gas generators, your solar generator, if the Flex is the only one you can actually get it for. But again, you can also get these for even your ham radio. So if there's something that you want to protect, you can wire an EMP shield into it, and it will protect it. This is Keystone military tested. It's used by agencies like DHS, DOD, and of course now they're on the DEMSO team, officially helping the Texas grid. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Not only will you save our grandfathered in $50 off, but the great part about our discount is it stacks on top of any sale that they're running. On top of that, you get to help our channel at the same time. We're independent. We don't have a multi-channel network. We've never done one. And we are on our own. So thank you, Marfia, for helping us and for keeping us going. Thank you. And then Philippines launches strategy of publicizing Chinese actions. It says the Philippine Coast Guard has launched a strategy of publicizing aggressive actions. And this is another reason why people are questioning it, because all of a sudden, every single thing that China does off the Philippines, they're now putting out in the papers. They're talking about, like when they shot a laser, or they supposedly shot a laser towards a Philippine boat. This was a military-grade laser. It didn't hurt them, but I believe if they would have set it a little higher, it could have. But it blinded them, and it probably could have damaged their eyes or whatever else. But now they're putting it out in the public. It says that the actions by China in the disputed South China Sea, which has countered Chinese propaganda and sparked international condemnation, that has put Beijing under the spotlight, a Philippine official said on Wednesday. Manila's Coast Guard has intensified patrols in the disputed waters and taken extra efforts to document and publicize assertive Chinese behavior in the strategic waterway, including a February 6th incident, which a Chinese Coast Guard ship aimed a military-grade laser that briefly blinded some of the crew members on a Philippine patrol boat off of the disputed reef. It says the Coast Guard protested and released a video of the incident, which sparked alarm in the Philippines, the United States, and some other Western countries. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. summoned China's ambassador to Manila and later said that the Philippine military has shifted its focus from fighting, this is no joke, Muslim and communist insurgents and other internal threats to external defense amid long-seething South China Sea territorial disputes. The reason I'm highlighting this is I showed you years ago, and people say, oh, you've been saying the same thing for years. Every country, one after another, including, they say South Africa is about to collapse. Guess who they just joined? They just joined Russia. All of these countries are shifting the money away from insurgents and into Russia and China. Remember when I covered, you have to be old school, but I covered when Theresa May, when she was in charge, she goes, we're not going to be, fighting insurgents anymore and terror attacks because they just stopped out of nowhere. Now we're going to be focusing all of our money, training, and our future conflict, simulations on Russia and China. Now even the Philippines is saying, and they're saying it specifically, saying we're going to less focus on insurgents and Muslims. We're going to focus on China. Everything is lining up for this thing to happen, and people still think it's not going to. It may be the biggest show on earth, may be the biggest orchestrated show, but we are going to be audience members to it. It says, that's my opinion. Again, I'd like to emphasize that the best way to address Chinese gray zone activities in the West Philippine Sea is to expose it, Coast Guard Commodore J. Torella said, referring to China's use of ostensibly civilian fishing and research vessels to perform military tasks. Now, they've done this for a long time. Fishing vessels don't have to have the trackers on. They can turn them off if they're commercial fishing. There's a ghost Navy, I guess they call it. I think they call it Ghost Navy. But there's at least 12,000 Chinese boats that from satellite view look like they're just normal fishing boats. Even some of them have the long poles like they're netting boats, but they actually have 50 cows on board and they're boarded by military. or militia or whatever they call their ghost navy. So now we have at least a few of these instances just in the last 2 days where these are involved. Those cables being cut, they also said, was a cargo ship and a fishing vessel. These are actually military, and they don't have to be tracked, so they can do stuff stealth. Dex, do you have comments on this one?
Let's not forget that all of this ramp up from the Philippines is happening after our military leaders have went over and struck a deal to expand our relationship. So a lot of this is probably part of the an orchestrated effort, but with our leadership, with our country, with the U.S. and the Philippines. So as we've talked quite a bit about how the narrative that is being pushed out by our media, by our government, with this negative spin towards China, this is you're going to be yet another piece of that that's going to layer in to that, in my opinion, is one that is there just to garner more support from the public opinion as it relates to the potential conflict as we move forward with what may happen between Xi and Taiwan.
And then, Dex, do you want to actually talk about China warns it will be even more aggressive if Taiwan president meets U.S. speaker? So this is what we covered yesterday and the day before, and now they're kind of responding.
Absolutely. So we talked about House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. He was supposed to make a trip there. He decided not to, and said instead they wanted the president to come to the U.S. and meet with him here. We speculated, this was our opinion, that maybe with the heated tensions of everything rising up, that maybe he thought it might not be as safe to go there, especially given what had happened in the past. But this is obvious. We knew that this was not going to be a big deal. This was going to be a big deal, or we knew this was not going to be welcomed by Xi specifically. He does not want to see anyone recognize Taiwan, and when leaderships of significant position of other countries are meeting with them, then that's taking away from his one China policy that he wants everyone to acknowledge and say, you go through me to get to Taiwan, you don't go to them directly. So if this meeting actually moves forward, it will probably have the same effect as if he was there in person in Taiwan. But in this case, they're going to bring the leader to the U.S. And meet with him here in the U.S. or her here in the U.S. Meet with him, Kevin McCarthy, and more than likely, if they're coming here, they're going to meet with a lot of other people too. But that's the impetus of this meeting. It was something he had talked about for quite a while, saying once he got into this position, he was going to go there and have an in-person meeting, and so that he could represent the House accordingly with information that he got from them.
And I guess we'll follow it as it goes on, but I mean, it seems like a lot of people have thought that this is all, artificially done to create this drama, as far as China reacts to every single thing that we do now. And then we have been pushing all of our narrative against China at the same time. It just seems like this is all being pushed in a direction, so it's very, very obvious. And that's why I think that many people believe it's BS, is because, I mean, look at it. If they're heavily pushing something, we naturally say, oh, this is totally orchestrated or something's going on. So we'll see what happens with this, but what are their countermeasures? Are we going to actually know? By the way, Joseph Newhouse says, I made a video, a timer to show how long it took you to notice the numbers on the screen. Yeah, I did watch that. That was pretty funny. You can see when I see it, I'm like, what? Yesterday, the back end of a website had basically their numbers that represent the pictures said 666. I pointed it out yesterday. Fairies of Venus, thank you. You didn't have to do that. Thank you for your support. If you do a super chat like that, please make sure to write a message or say hello or say something. Again, that use that space to say thank you to somebody else or shout somebody out. Thank you so much. And then Ed Brown, thank you for the support as well with the super sticker. Stephanie Munoz, thank you. And then Nana of Montana, it's nice to see you again. Says, sending love to all. Hope I am better soon. Miss you all. You're in my prayers. Nana of Montana, we're praying for you. And again, I believe that a lot of people praying for Lisa R. Hall's daughter, that ended up really helping. As we all know, that she, at the time that we started praying, it was pretty bad. But now she is out of the hospital. Mirror 504, thank you. And Greg Davis, again, thank you. All right, and then U.S. intel community warns of complex threat from China, Russia, and North Korea. There's so many warnings, and people are not going to heed them. I almost guarantee it, because of many people just don't want to believe anything right now, and I don't blame people. But right now there are some actual events that seem very obvious that were, done in the last couple years, like the solar winds hack, the pipeline on the East Coast here, all of these different cyber events with the New York Stock Exchange, all of these weird tit for tat things that they always say, oh, it's just an accident, it's a glitch or something else. I don't believe that. I do believe that a conflict would bring us very quickly into a lot of the goals that are set by these. The thing is, most people agree that they want to do these narrative changing, world changing changes to the world in the next 7 years until 2030. But how would they do that fast? How? And 7 years is not long. Think about 7 years ago. It was 2016? That's not long ago. I mean, it just flies by. 2017, right? Yeah, 2016. So think about in 7 more years, they want to do all these changes. How are they going to do it that fast? Well, during CV, they were able to change things, put things in just like they were in 2001. After the Twin Towers, it was almost instant. Things changed, and they have never changed back. The reason we are tracked and traced and everything else, that started that day. And of course, there's a lot of questions about that day, but you can go down that rabbit hole yourself. I would say, don't just accept what was written. Go and do your own research. The United States is expected to face a, quote, complex security environment and will need to work out to confront 2 critical strategic challenges: rising powers like China seeking dominance in the global order, and challenges like climate change, which could intersect and intensify their national security implications. It says the Office of Director of National Intelligence on Wednesday released its 2023 annual threat assessment, which warned of threats against the U.S. posed by China, Russia, and North Korea and Iran. It also warned of global challenges like the Great Change, right? And evolving technologies that could have the potential to, quote, disrupt traditional business and society while creating unprecedented vulnerabilities. It says these two strategic challenges will intersect and interact in unpredictable ways, leading to mutually reinforcing effects that could challenge our ability to respond. But that also will introduce new opportunities to forge collective action with allies and partners, including non-state actors. It says, as for China, the U.S. intelligence community said that the Chinese Communist Party will continue its efforts to make China the preeminent power in East Asia and major power on the world stage. China not shy about saying they want to be number 1. They don't want to be number 2. And they've been very clear about their goals. Others say, and by the way, oh, well, they're about to collapse. Their entire economy is about to collapse. With the amount that China is involved in shifting narratives, I wouldn't put it past them to put that own narrative out there, to put out actual leaks and information that says we're about to collapse, because they are very good at shifting narratives about themselves. And if that is out there, you would think if it was true, they are very good at unshifting narratives that are, things that are spoken badly about them. They are the only country with over 1 million on the payroll online. There's an actual 1 million people that their entire purpose is to do whatever their government tells them online. So if you want, if a narrative goes out there and is trending, they can thumbs it down and have 1 million people say, oh, this is fake, this is, BS. Who are you going to believe? Whatever it's saying, or 1 million people saying in a row, this isn't right. This isn't correct. This has been debunked. You might walk away. You might have seen the article, but you're going to walk away thinking, oh, this was debunked. So they are definitely one of the biggest, players in whatever is going on right now. And many people overlook them now because mainstream media is finally focusing on them. People are going to overlook it, just like how they finally started covering CV. We covered it months and months before. Nobody was talking about it. Once mainstream talked about it, nobody believes it. But there is some stuff you need to pay attention into mainstream media. We talked about this for 5 years. Now it's going the path, in the very orchestrated path we thought it was going to go. So it's like you got to take some of the warnings. You can't just ignore all of it. Dex, go ahead.
This is interesting. So this is an annual report that comes out from the intelligence community, and it laid out the main countries that are our biggest threats: China, Russia. I ran to the store and NK. Okay, this media coverage is all about Xi. The just about the entire article is all about Xi. So it goes back to that narrative we were talking about. A couple other things, they go through the stuff that we sort of understand or we think about, we talk about, the buildups, the capabilities that they have for cyber, the buildup of, their military. But a couple of key points I thought were really interesting was they warned that Beijing is bolstering its domestic defense production capabilities for WMDs, as well as advanced. And then if you guys want to read the entire threat assessment, it's linked in this article, so you can go there. But inside that threat assessment, it talks specifically, when we were talking about space at the very beginning, we were talking about Space Force. It says counter space operations will be an integral to the potential of the PLA military campaigns, and that their counter space weapon capabilities intend to target U.S. and allied satellites. It says they have already fielded ground-based counter space capabilities, including electronic warfare systems, directed energy weapons, and ASAT missiles intended to disrupt, damage, and destroy satellites. So they've already got that, is what they're saying. And they're saying this is, from a space perspective, and the protection of our satellites, that's a big threat as well.
So, and, like them building the silos, everything that China has set out to do, and they've put a date on it. They were supposed to have, what was it? They were supposed to have 3 carriers or 4 carriers. Yeah, they were supposed to have 4 carriers by our government's estimate by 2030. They now have 3 absolute complete carriers by 2023. The third one just needs pilots. So the actual boat is done. It's done and sitting in dock. The 4th one is being worked on. So they are 7 years ahead in that. They said that they were supposed to have 300 silos and that they were going for 1,500. They already hit 300. And now they say there might even be 4,500 in the few years where they said they were supposed to be at 1,000. So they have totally blown away all of the different analysts and experts on how fast they're building. There's always going to be an argument about who is telling the truth in all of this mainstream media, and the whole thing is we need to weed through all of it and try to figure out what's closest to the truth. I'll tell you, it's not just from the articles that we believe the way we do. We have actual military members here. And what's funny is the same people that will be like, I support our troops, will say, I don't trust, I don't trust this agency, I don't trust this, I don't trust this, I don't trust mainstream media. Some of our really, really amazing, currently serving veterans and currently serving military members, they're saying that this is what is about to happen. And again, if you are active or retired military, let me know what you think in the chat. Let people know around you, do you think we are about to have a massive conflict? It's okay to not say yes. It's okay to say, no, I don't think so. It's okay to go against the grain, and it's okay to disagree. But I can almost guarantee most of the military members here, which there are over 1,000 that we know of, and who knows how many people watching in the dark, they are saying that they believe war is coming. It's not even an issue of when. It's not even an issue of if. It's a when. We're just waiting on it, like waiting on this, like it's a bus stop or something, and we're waiting for the bus to come. But what do you think? Let me know. Let me know why, too. Don't just say, I don't, that's wrong. Tell me why you think it's wrong. And then NATO chief warns Bakhmut might fall in coming days. There's been so much, craziness around this Bakhmut, but this is essentially what independent sources said weeks and even months ago. And now it's like mainstream said so many conflicting things about Bakhmut. We actually know, wasn't it Bakhmut that Milley told UKR? Was it Milley directly or that said, you guys need to get out of Bakhmut, you're going to lose it anyways or something? Wasn't that Bakhmut?
Yes, that was like 2 months ago. And the assessment that they had given them and the advice that they gave them was like, hey, you need to go south. You need to stop wasting your human resources and your shells there. It was when they told them stop doing the 1-for-1 on the shelling. And they also said, you're not going to win Bakhmut. Go to the other locations, Mariupol and others, where you need to beef up your resistance. So, this has been ongoing. This is the one where the head of the Wagner group is basically running his team through and, ran out of ammunition and then finally got it after being public, going public about it. It's been a long back and forth on this one with both the Wagner group and the UKR. And they even said, as of like 2 days ago, Zelensky said, we're not giving up on it. So they're staying in there and trying to fight it, and they're not backing down, but it doesn't look like they're going to be successful. At least that's the remarks coming from a NATO chief.
And, between traitorous Milley and all of these people, we don't know who to actually believe on this, but obviously something is moving forward. They just told us 2 weeks ago that, they'll never take this and that they're losing. Of course, there's pieces in tonight's news. We'll talk about that here in just a second, basically saying that they're setting up hospitals because they're losing so many people. And we should share that kind of stuff. We need to talk about it, then put it up, and then you'll see how people react to the article coming up. People are like, it's BS. All right, and then before we move on, make sure if you don't have a resource, or if you've been wondering, like, where do we get bulk survival food? If you do go through an affiliate that we have, you end up giving us a small commission at the same time as getting a massive discount. In this case, if you get the 3-month of 25-year shelf life food, you'll end up getting a free Alexa Pure Pro. That's a gravity-fed water filtration system, so it takes out multiple birds with one stone. In fact, you get 3 months of food, which could be broken up. If you have, 2 people in your family, that's a month and a half each. And you will get an Alexa Pure Pro, which will cover your water needs. The Alexa Pure Pro gets rid of all the nasty lead, fluoride, chlorine, all of the stuff, and makes basically most any kind of water into potable, drinkable water. So go to marfooglenews.com. That's like a $300+ value. Again, a lot of people are actually saying that this is a much better deal than $200 off, because it's definitely, it basically takes something off of your need list. I would say if you do get this, and if you're getting it for free anyways, I would spend a few bucks and get yourself extra filters. The filters do last a long time, but I would make sure to really do the math and overestimate, because of all the stuff going on with that. You definitely want to overestimate on filters. Depending on how long you want to have. All right, and that's marfooglenews.com/prep, and that will help us out. It will get you a discount or some free stuff, and at the same time, you're going to be supporting independent media. Also, they have smaller packages. They have 3-day kits. They have month kits. They have all sorts of different awesome packages. So thank you guys in advance for helping support us, and again, thank you for going through us. All right, and then Pentagon blocks sharing evidence of possible Russian war crimes with Hague Court. Or Hague? Is it Hague? 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 Is it Hague? 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 Is it Hague?
I don't know. I would say Hague.
Hague? Hague. The Pentagon is blocking the B administration, JB, our good old VP, their administration, from sharing evidence with the International Criminal Court with The Hague gathered by American intelligence agency about atrocities in UKR, according to the current former officials briefed on the matter. American military leaders oppose helping the court investigate Vlad's because they fear setting a precedent that might help pave the way to prosecute Americans. The rest of the administration, including intelligence agencies and the State and Justice Department, favors sharing the evidence with the court, the official said. President JB has yet to resolve the impasse, officials said. The evidence is said to include details relevant to an investigation the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, began after Russia's invasion of UKR a year ago. The information reportedly includes material about decisions by Russian officials to deliberately target civilian infrastructure and to abduct thousands of UKR children from the occupied territory. Now, there was, their rebuttal to that was that they were evacuating them, I think, or there was some kind of admission of it, but it was like, we're getting them out of there before we start booming it. But yeah, this is... most people are going, well, so basically they're not letting people see it, right? They don't want people combing through things. There's been a lot of that lately. In fact, the last week, people have been talking about how much the governments actually block us actually seeing with our own eyes, our real eyes, our very real eyes, what is actually going on. So, and then, Dex, do you want to talk about Lukashenko?
So Lukashenko, I guess, back from his trip, is talking about, quote unquote, the incredible operation against that A-50, and now he's asking asking Vlad for a replacement, but they don't actually. I think they're repairing it. They did take it to another place to get it repaired, but they don't necessarily. I don't think they're in the position to even be able to build those anymore right now. At least they don't have the plant, or the plant's not operational. I'm not sure. There's something along those lines we reported in about a week ago when this happened, or a week and a half ago when this happened, that they can't even make them anymore. They can't replace them. I'm assuming they'll be able to repair it. It sounds like most of the damage was to the top of the fuselage of this plane, where it was its weakest. But this isn't what we would think of here as an AWACS. It's one of those planes that has the big, funny, round-looking antenna above it that is basically a radar, a high-tech radar system that can give advanced information about what's happening, I guess, in the air and on the ground. More so in the air, I'm assuming. But yeah, they're wanting it back. They want to get it up and running again. And but this is the one that they claimed that the a group, a sympathetic group, which would have been inside Belarus, that was against Lukashenko, is the ones that did it. Now they also came out, if you recall, we reported this. They came out and said that was not true, that it wasn't them. But then they later came out and showed video of how they did it and what they used and explained the tools they used. So they sort of validated it on one hand. I don't know that we've necessarily gotten the retraction on that, but at this point, it's still clear that there was a sabotage there, and Lukashenko is definitely knows it happened and wants the plane returned, I guess, when it gets repaired.
And by the way, folks are saying that we're very blurry or something, that the feed is bad. If you guys can, let us know. We do have problems once in a while, but if you do want to back out and come back in, you can. Let's see. It's
good here.
Yeah, I didn't think so. It shows that we're that we're high quality right now. So it might be your phone. Let's see here. Android Architect, not blurry for me, says Smelly Dogs. Well, thank you, Stephanie. Says no. Everybody feed is fine. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you have to exit out. A lot of these platforms, sometimes you have to literally exit out of the app and then go back in. Scratch is here. We've got Shoshana Rose. Can see you fine, even if you are blurry. So it says you should probably see a doctor about that. Dex, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for those of you on mobile, if you get a weak signal, it's going to drop down to the lowest resolution, and that low resolution does look blurry. That's why it's doing that. But that's because you don't have a lot of bandwidth at the moment.
Yeah. So if you go down to in YouTube, go to that little that gear, you'll see that it's at 360p or 720 or 1080. Right now we're at 1080 60. So you should be seeing every wrinkle. Unfortunately. So Trinity, thank you. Appreciate that. Mine is super clear, says the Rubber Mosquito. Thank you. And thank you. Mary Tyndall, thank you for being here. Alexis Stanton. My band is wide. All right. And then thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. Yeah, switch from 144p to 1080. Some people, yeah, a lot of, I remember my old place, we could not get anything above DSL there. That sucked. You have to change. You says your show always defaults to low, and I have to change it. No, I don't know. I think my phone does that too, and I hate it. It's like, why put me at 360 if I have like gig speeds? Like, that's just dumb. Put it at the nicest resolution, and then if it doesn't work, I'll change it. All right, and then Lori Yoder again. Thank you. And then Russian state TV host claims UKR allies are reduced to eating squirrels because they're spending all their money on military aid. See, this you can easily say, oh, this is BS, right? But it says that UKR's allies are reduced to eating squirrels, basically because they've spent all of their money. This is from this show we've shown before. This woman has said some pretty nut stuff. We've actually shown the highlights. This is more entertainment than anything, right? This is literally, they're talking about it and saying, yeah, they're eating squirrels. If they were trapped in a war zone, I wouldn't actually be surprised if they did have to eat squirrels at one point. If you were trapped away from your group or something, people are going to do whatever they have to do to survive. So I bet both sides have probably done this at one point or another. And I know that in World War II, people ate random animals and literally hunted when they got separated and behind enemy lines, couldn't access, couldn't go into the towns, couldn't do anything. So there's some pretty crazy stories about WW2 about that. So this very well could be obvious propaganda, but it wouldn't be surprising, nor is it crazy to think about if they, were separated. It says, today it was revealed that some restaurants in once Great Britain will be serving squirrels. Olga Skobayev said on Russian news show 60 Minutes. Per a translation, UKR Interior Ministry advisor Anton Gurashchenko said, in view of the fact that there are plenty of animals in the parks, so why not eat them, bearing in mind the food shortage in the UK. She added, the UK, are not backing down from the decision to help UKR President Vladimir to supply weapons. That is, now they will eat squirrels, but still supply howitzers. So I don't know if that part is true, but I don't know. Are squirrels good? Has anybody tasted squirrel here? I would assume somebody might have tasted one. Dex, have you ever eaten a squirrel?
I have not. If I had to, I would. But this is stemming from a conservation group in southwest England that was trying to conserve the red squirrel and saying that the gray squirrel was dominating it and had too much competition. And they had, whether it was jokingly or not jokingly, had proposed, hey, put the gray squirrel on the menu at the local restaurants and we can reduce the population and then we can save the red squirrel, which is being, almost going extinct because the gray squirrels are taken over.
Who's going to eat a squirrel voluntarily without, survival issues? I don't know. I personally, I just see them very cute eating their little nuts. I just couldn't do it. I could if I was really starving. What does squirrel meat taste like? And don't say chicken. Probably it does taste like chicken, huh? And then Russians build modular hospitals in Luhansk Oblast due to large number of wounded. Now, the other angle of this is they are building it because there's about to be a bigger conflict. So there's more than one side to everything. But it says the Russian occupiers have begun to build a modular ambulance stations in Luhansk Oblast due to the large number of wounded for whom there is no longer enough space in hospitals. Now, some believe this is because they're preparing for a much, much bigger war. That's just what folks on Twitter are talking about, and some military members said they believe that this is actually because they're preparing for a way bigger conflict. There's a whole subset of people right now that believe they're shipping out stuff right now to Europe to go to World War III. After we showed that the Air Mobility Command is removing all of their numbers and identifiers off their planes, that same Mike Minahan that runs the Air Mobility Command that made that decision, there was a leaked document that showed that he told his employees to get ready to go to war with China by 2025. And now they're removing identifiers on all of the cargo planes that are moving things all around the world for the military. Some think that we are already loaded up, that basically they are secretly loading up Europe for World War III. Some believe that these hospitals, and more than just this one, are being put up. It says there are no longer enough beds for wounded invaders in the hospitals of Luhansk Oblast because such people are brought in daily, but they have been found a place to treat the wounded now. Modular ambulance stations are being built especially for them, which look more like gazebos than medical facilities. It says it was reported that the Russians solved the shortage of medical workers by organizing medical teams from various regions of the Russian Federation. They are promised a higher salary in Luhansk Oblast, and they are sent an unpaid leave from their main place of work. So basically they're unpaid leave, so they're not getting paid from their place, but they're getting a higher salary than they normally would. The Oblast Military Administration added that on the 7th of March that the Kupiansk and Lyman fronts, Russian forces conducted unsuccessful offensive operations. They also fired using artillery in Novosibirsk, Stelmenkivka, Nevsky, and Chornopovkivka, and Dubrova. It says the UKR Air Force carried out 7 strikes on clusters of Russian military manpower. The UKR defenders also took down supposedly an Orlan 10 UAV, hit a Buk M1 and 2 anti-aircraft missile system, 5 clusters of Russian occupiers, 3 fuel storage points, and a zoo park radar reconnaissance and control system. So we don't know which side to believe on either one of these, but one thing is that they are most definitely putting up more medical bays, or at least these gazebos. Dex, go ahead.
Just a third angle on this, not reported, just my opinion. We have reported about a lot of the ammunition storage facilities that have been hit and other storage facilities hit. This is also a way to pop up medical areas that you presumably would not be hit, and then you could use them to shield your storage. So this could be a different tactic altogether, in addition to the fact that they may be having a lack of beds, or they may be preparing more beds because there's a bigger conflict coming, or it could be that they're using this as a way to start covering some of their storage and munition storage because they're getting hit. And if they don't, everybody likes to, in conflict like this, they definitely don't want to target medical facilities that are set up, because that does create a really bad PR. And it's not good, because you don't want to hurt innocent people. So that could be another angle.
Yeah, and especially if they're pulling in regular doctors and nurses and everything else from everywhere else. So just basically put a cross on the top, say it's medical, which I believe they did that in former wars too, where, it's not, because isn't it international? What is that law that aren't medics supposed to be able to go and grab the people? Is that an actual international thing? If you go to war, are medics supposed to be able to go in and grab their people? Or is that just kind of an agreement between countries?
I think the term is called medical neutrality. If I may be misspeaking on this, but there is a notion of that it's supposed to be non-interference with medical when it's happening. It's part of the Geneva Conventions, I think.
Oh, that's what I was looking for. Geneva Convention. A Geneva Agreement, says Rover. Yeah, so, but it's not always listened to either. I mean, there's been many times where they didn't care. International law prohibits attacks on any medical bases or camps. So you could see why it might be beneficial, but I'm sure if their satellites saw them loading ammunition into a medical bay, they'd probably hit it anyways. Let's see here. Satan City is Geneva, says Darth V. Priscilla R, nice to see you. Vicky K, thank you for stopping by as well. Everybody over on D-Live, thank you guys. Appreciate everybody coming out in force over there. We have Poco Loco 43. Thank you, Chance, Jammer, and April. Thank you guys. Low T just followed. And Gem, thank you as well. I hope you're here. And then One Blue Iris. We've got Skyhouse, Earthwoman, Michelle K. The Mark Marone special was not funny at all. Michelle K, I agree. And I used to like Mark Marone, and I tried to watch it. I'm like, okay, because I think comedians should be able to tell jokes about anything and everything, even if it offends me. Okay. So I was waiting, like I was offended multiple times, but I kept watching. I'm like, okay, when is this going to get funny? But then he went in about like abortion and all this other stuff, and he's talking about the people they should call the clinics, call them angel factories. It was just like he was trying, and it's not even like shock funny. It's just like over the top. Jake, thank you. The Rubber Mosquito, Sarah Barra. I was literally sitting there just crunched, and I'm not offended by almost anything. I was offended multiple times, but I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait until he cracks me up. There was like one time I sort of laughed, but I was like, gosh, this is just really bad. And he used to be so like edgy. Everybody is so political. And if they go far to the left or far to the thing is far right isn't like literally, oh, I believe this or Christian that. Far right comedians are just saying the stuff that, has been found as like true. I don't know. It's almost like people are just gobbling up the BS. I don't get it. And then they call that liberal or left. It's not liberal or left. It's just there's a lot of false stuff hidden in there. I don't think liberals are dumb. I don't think liberals are stupid, but they've made it to where right side says left side is stupid. They say left side, right side is stupid, racist, whatever else. It's all, they've made it so you cannot agree no matter what, because they put both sides at odds. And then President B to reveal nuke submarine plans on Monday alongside UK and Australian leaders. This is something that people should be paying attention to. This is what we've been talking about for a long time. The Australian deal with the whole submarine. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But I do want to remind you guys, I mentioned it earlier, but the Flex 1500, Energy now has a tactical version of this. You can't get it yet, and if you do want this, you're going to have to wait. But now they have developed one with the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Army, and they have directly made this one. They are already tough, and this is what I don't get. The regular Flex 1500 is absolutely insanely tough. The thing is unbelievable. But as you can see on the tactical version, they've changed it. If you already have one, then over here on the side, these have like these military grade clasps that connect them. It is made from a tougher steel. I don't know all the details, but basically these are made, I'm assuming these things are going to be able to be run over or something. But these are really, really cool. I'm really excited to see what they do with this. But that's down the road. You have to pre-order it. You have to get your name on one now. These are solar generators, and I believe, I don't know yet, but I'm wondering if these are protected against other stuff. We don't know much. But if you do want to get the regular Flex 1500, how they work is they work like Legos. So you can literally stack them like Lego, and it's modular. You can actually add different kind of, changing factors into it. You can turn it into a UPS. You can turn it into a unit that takes 3 times the amount of solar. So again, if you see all of the comparison videos that compare the different systems, almost everyone I've seen says, oh, well, the downside is that this can only take 4 solar panels. If you add the mod, you can actually take 12, beating almost all of the other comparisons. So any weakness it has now, including that UPS charger, this now has a mod that can change or delete that weakness. Again, I don't think it has really many weaknesses at all, but even if it did, you considered one, it can be fixed. So I think it's one of the best solar generators on the market. If you do want to get one, it's an incredible thing. When the power goes out, you're able to plug in all of your stuff and keep going, or to be able to take something with you, power your drills at work, power your stuff, to be able to just go and have power wherever you are is absolutely awesome. But not to mention in an emergency situation, these are, the best on the market. They're built. The reason why people go and get these is because of the reliability, who they're working with. Now, obviously, they are working with the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Army. So these things are really, really badass. So if you want to go check them out, go to marfooglenews.com/energy. They have the X2 that's available now. That's all built in one. You can expand this one, but you can dual link it. So if you get 2, not only can you double the capacity, but you can also double the output, which is really impressive because it already has an awesome output. So you can power some pretty big stuff once you've dual linked this. You can also use this as a UPS. The X2 is UPS right from the box. So you can plug your fridge into this and then say plug it into the wall. And when the power goes out, it's automatically going to switch. Uninterrupted power supply, UPS. So it's really, really sweet. And you can charge it up to 100% in about an hour and 15 minutes. That's if you charge it with the wall charger. If you charge it with solar panels, again, that varies on how many solar panels you have. You can charge these things on a cloudy day. I hear a lot of people go, well, I don't have sun around here. You don't have to have sun. You just have to have daylight. It's slower if it's really cloudy, but it still charges. So I see a lot of people that think that they can't get one because they live in Seattle or somewhere else. That's what I hear all the time from people and my friends. Like, oh, it's too cloudy here. You can still get power. You just get a little bit less, and it's not as fast. Anyways, marfooglenews.com/energy. You'll get a special discount with all of these if you use that code Marfoogle. So make sure to use that code. Don't forget it. And they're stealth and silent, so nobody's going to hear it from 3 blocks away. That's one of the biggest powers of those. And then President B to reveal nuke submarine plans Monday alongside UK and Australian leaders. So the event in San Diego, which could include a walk atop a submarine, will feature details on how Australia aims to acquire nuclear-powered submarines. Remember, this is the thing that pissed off the French. See, Australia had a 16 or 15-year deal with the French for the French to manufacture them submarines. Well, the U.S. swooped in and took that contract and said, hey, we can get you them in as little as 2. And we questioned back then, why are they quickening this up? Why do they need it in 2 instead of 15? Why would they literally screw over France to get it that fast? It's a question that people are still asking. But it says that they will unveil the first phase of an ambitious 3-nation nuclear submarine deal next to the leaders of the United Kingdom and Australia on Monday. San Diego, according to 6 people familiar with the plans. I like how they just throw in, like, we just picked 6 people familiar. The announcement is the culmination of 18 months of negotiations, which we covered when that started, as the 3 countries figure out how to provide Australia with a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines. This, to me, sounds like they're getting ready for a world conflict. They're loading up Australia because that's one of the strategic places that is going to be involved in the next conflict. So, again, it says the complicated plans. It says restrictions on technology transfers and classified nuclear processes have complicated plans ever since the deal known as AUKUS. And it says was struck in September 2021. Last week, State Department and Pentagon officials briefed House Foreign Affairs Committee members about some of the issues. So Sunak, Prime Minister Sunak and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will join JB for the event on Monday. So you're going to have UK, Australia, and JB all together. So you've got 3 world leaders of 3 very important countries coming up meeting. So they might have a closed-door meeting as well. We'll see what ends up coming out of that. And then, Dex, do you have a comment on that before we go to some of the really crazy story here?
Aside from the obvious military-industrial complex wanting to generate a lot of revenue and sell submarines, to me, I think the reason this swooped in was more so, as you were saying, which is let's make sure we've got U.S. Assets with our ally there that we can control the timeline of, and we can speed up that timeline because we need it in the Pacific. Whereas if they didn't do it and they left it to the French, we don't. That timeline was much longer, and then we would be reliant on pushing the French to hurry up and give what we need to our allies in Australia. So I think it's both a tactical as well as an economical issue here.
And we'll follow it along. This next piece is a little out there. It says time traveler reveals the exact date that World War III will start. It says self-described time travelers on TikTok continue to fascinate social media users, and the latest viral account has made one of the boldest predictions yet. It says the figure, who goes by the name of Trevor the Time Traveler, no joke, is the latest person to claim that they're from the future on the platform and they bring with them bad news. Trevor claims to be and people are taking this seriously, by the way. I have had this emailed to me by multiple people, and they actually, some people have even emailed me that they've had dreams about what this guy is saying. So, again, I'm not making fun of it. Just watch, everybody's blown away, and the guy's right. It says Trevor claims to be posting videos from 2 decades in the future. He also says that he's on the hunt to find his friend Roger, a.k.a. Kronos. It says we're more than a little skeptical, of course, but the oddly fascinating videos have been gaining viewers over recent days, and the big one relates to the outbreak of World War III. It says, according to Trevor, we don't have very long until something very bad happens. A new clip posted on the account sees Trevor write, "Here are 3 dates that something terrible is going to happen." It says the 29/5/2030, a third world war will start, lasting 7 years between the North and South. I'm like, no, because 2030, maybe he's just reading some online stuff and goes, Agenda 2030, oh yeah, I don't know. But it says 2037, the war ends and a second baby boom happens, growing the population too high. And it says it's an ominous prediction, but it's not the strangest thing TikTok time travelers have made videos about in the past. By the way, there's so many weird things on TikTok. Just so many weird subsets of things are on there now. And you look at it, and I swear, it's all countries too. The weirdest parts of culture are coming out right now. And maybe it's just as you get older, you're like, this new generation is just weird. I remember when, old people thought my generation when I was a teenager was weird and, hip hop and all of this. But it's like, are just young people just really dumb? I guess that's the thing. Like we were dumb when we were young, right? Maybe that's it. And you just have a lot of culture is pushed on by very young people. So in turn, what culture and the cool things in culture are just dumb. I mean, I guess I was born during the 80s, and many people miss the 80s, but obviously people look back and they're like, whoa, what were they thinking, right? 70s, 60s. I mean, each generation had their, craziness. Ours right now is this TikTok phenomenon. They have people literally sitting in gas stations, like, just sitting there, and people watch it for like 10 hours a day. People sit and watch like a husband and wife just like sit and drink on their couch. And then the trauma thing. This is a huge thing on TikTok. Trauma. Just people talk about their childhood trauma, and it's gotten to the point where people are so clout hungry. There's this one user that literally just posts trauma, and this one specific person, I won't say who it is to put them on blast, but they are a musician. And they're pretty good at music, but they've tried to post music, and all of their videos are like, literally their captions are like, I try to put out music, but nobody wants it. They just want more trauma content. And then you see the next video after that, it's like, my mom beat me. And then after that, it'll be like, oh, I tried to do music again, but nobody. And then they'll do a music video of like, my trauma content is just as, or my music is just as relevant as my trauma content. I'm like, this is so weird. People want you to just keep telling them about how you were like abused as a kid or something. By the way, the reason why that does is because the TikTok algorithm knows that, say, you have had childhood trauma, so it feeds you up more of this content. And yes, it's relatable. So what's crazy about their algorithm, and this is such a bigger thing, the reason why TikTok is so big right now is because it's not attaching to like, oh, I like, I like scary movies, so it's going to share me scary movie content. It's attaching to your profile of who you are and your emotions. If you've had trauma in your life, or if you've, it picks up the emotions you have. And that's what people are connecting to. So you see all of these parents showing their nasty houses, or they show, trauma, or this or that, or parenting, or how they, are just not perfect. And people relate to that because it's real. But it's also, you see these people then get addicted to showing the trauma because it gets more relation and more people on their For You page and stuff. This isn't healthy. If people think it's healthy, they think, oh, now they think this generation is all about therapy. It's not therapy. It's clout. It's turning people addicted to getting these likes and the poor me victim status. Like, that's my opinion. What's yours? I'd love to hear it. I just find TikTok so fascinating and weird and scary at times. And we know probably the overall goal of it anyways. It's to profile everyone. And then NASA scientists baffled as unusual red circles appear on the surface of Mars. Dex, do you want to go over this? This is just weird.
Apparently they've got crops now in their sand dunes. So no, this is kind of cool in some regards. They don't understand it yet, but if you look at the pictures, they are almost perfect circles, where some of them are a little off, but they're off in the way that the way the wind blows and the way the elevation blows would cause that abnormality. But they're confused. They don't know what this is. They've not seen it before. It's something new. I'm sure there's going to be lots of new things as they continue to explore that planet. But finding these perfect circles in certain areas and trying to understand what is it that's really creating it. You can understand a crater if you see a crater and it's, a perfect circle because there's something impacted. But these kind of almost look like they're puffed up and they're sitting in the middle of the sand dunes. They're there. So kind of an interesting observation. Sure, somebody will say there's something underneath there. Who knows? Maybe it's gas pockets or something. I have no idea. But time potentially will tell us. But it's a new thing, and it's got everybody asking questions like, "What's going on here?"
Or what if everything I've seen in science fiction about Mars, which I'm sure there's people that doubt it even exists, right, in this audience. But I've always seen about these sandstorms. What if these were tornadoes touching down and picking up a certain amount and then dissipating or something? I don't know. It's very weird. You can if you closely look, you can see that it almost looks like the bottom of the ocean where the wind has kind of done the sand, right? But you can see that even in the perfect circle holes here. So was something picked up and then dropped down, or I don't know. Or does Mars have acne? I don't know. I don't get it. And is this an optical illusion? Are these actually bulging out? Are these little Teletubby hills? Is this home to the Teletubbies in a dystopian future where the world is all red? All right, Dex. By the way, thank you, everybody. Badger One, amazing drop. Cookie-licious, thank you. Thanks, everybody that stopped by. Martin S., thank you, says Jacinda. What was that? Jacinda Ardern. New Zealand former prime minister resigned because she didn't want to be involved in the coming conflict with China. She loves socialism, says Martin S. Interesting theory. And then Ed Brown, thank you. Again, Fairies of Venus, thank you. Ray the Way, I'm active duty in the Air Force stationed at... I guess you don't know your name or anything. Whiteman Air Force Base, crew chief of the B-2. And our commanders basically are saying that the writing is on the wall. War is coming. So Ray the Way, I did not know that. I didn't know you were active duty. Maybe I missed something. I think it's pretty clear. The reason people doubt it is because mainstream is talking about it. Anything that mainstream is talking about, people push it back against and they're like, this isn't true because they're saying it is. But we know from history and from events that have happened and that have personally affected us that, yes, they did cover it in mainstream, but they spun it the way they wanted to. So then the narrative may be different, but the event is still there in front of us. Thank you, Adam, Dex, and Mods, and Foogle Fam, and a special thanks to Ilea. Night, all stay safe and warm love your way. Kenny Crowder, thank you for both of your comments there. Good evening, Adam, Dex, and Mods. Foogle Fam, and a special thanks to Ilea. Be safe and warm love your way. Kenny Crowder, I hope you didn't do that twice. I was going to get to you. And then Greg Davis, thank you again. Mir504, thank you. Stephanie Munoz, I hope I say that right. And then Ray the Way again, thank you. Paul, MX, Gypsy Flat, Neil Nelson, Carol McLean, thank you. I Love Beagles, Jennifer Sam Sammy, MK, and everybody else that supported this week, thank you. Dex, we're going to go over the web only. There's just a lot of freaky stuff there.
There certainly is. So this is, if you're new here, go to the website, go to marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for today's show, and it'll take you to this webpage. If you're on YouTube and Rumble, it's even easier. Just open the description, click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here. You're going to see all the news that we just covered. Then you're going to get this yellow bar that says overflow. This is where the rest of the story is. Everything else that didn't go into the show didn't make it in. Even some stuff that may be just too argumentative for people. We don't want to create that kind of drama. So it's all here. There's a lot of updates going on with UKR. A lot of little stories. There's like a before and after photos in UKR. There's some studies about there's some information about a couple of different scenarios of people that have enlisted and then perished, another person who something bad and awful happened to them. The Ukraine victory is claimed by the U.S. State Department. That's how it will end. It was with UKR victory, so that's there. Of course, additional coverage on what the NATO chief said, as we talked about earlier, and some more. There's other stuff going on, so that's a whole section there. A lot of what's happening in UKR. There's also a crazy video coming out of China, where this person who's wielding an axe is going after his boss's Mercedes-Benz. So if you want to see that, we definitely have the coverage of the political spectrum, which also overlaps with the Tucker story that's been really big this week. So that stuff's there. If you want to see what's going on, I can't imagine you haven't already heard, because it's been pretty much covered everywhere from both sides for sure. There's stuff happening in just because we talk about what the government there is trying to do to the iCountry, its adversary, there's also a lot of consternation in the public about who's in charge, and they've even had their own protests. So there's more going on about that. Apparently money can buy you happiness, or at least some scientists say. So if you want to understand that, it's there. And an update from one of the about an oligarch who ran into some issues with and selling stuff to Meghan and Harry, if you care about that type of story. And then of course some Tesla stuff with Elon. They're now probing him over steering wheels they're not falling off, but they might fall off. So that's a new probe going after Elon. That and so much more. It is all right there on our website, marfooglenews.com. We put it together for you every night, and it's easy to get to. If you're on YouTube and Rumble, just open up the description, click on the show notes link. You don't even have to leave the app. It'll load right there, and you can read the rest of the story.
Thank you, Dex, and thank you for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Mods, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you down there. And make sure to thank your mods right now for obviously keeping it a very peaceful and positive place down there, and sharing links and doing everything else. that they do. And also make sure to thank them by going over and subscribing. You can go to marfooglenews.com/friends to not only find our mods, but to find some really great channels. Wages World, I don't know if, did Wages make it tonight? Did you see him down there? Wages has been doing a lot of solar coverage lately, so make sure to go check that out. The solar activity has been going nuts. Trinity does awesome edited stuff, great videos. Ilea does really, really awesome content. Ilea, basically you can guarantee if you say the sky is blue, she's going to go, no, it's red. And she will crack a joke while doing it. She is awesome. And she's also, she doesn't take no lip from anybody. Rib Curl Readiness, great guy, amazing guy. Make sure to go check him out. Lisa Hall, beautiful person, very, very sweet. Jammer1, make sure to pray for him too. He's been having some, his health isn't so great. So again, he is a really, really kind and genuine guy. Gem, beautiful artist, beautiful inside and out. CJ Blaze, I couldn't say anything different for her. So make sure to go over and check out CJ Blaze's channel. Her and her significant other are just great people in general. Chance, great author, has a newer book. Again, make sure to go to the Amazon link to see the new one. What is it called, Dex? Heartland? What is his new book called? Bunker Code is not his newest book.
Yeah, Bunker Code is the one I know. The new one, I forgot the title of. I'll have to go look it up.
It's Heartland something. He's got new books out. Go to his Amazon link and check it out. And then Bones, of course, actually has some comedy stuff. He is doing TikTok, but he's got some pretty funny stuff over there, and Twitter. So make sure to go follow everybody. Thank you guys. Much love. And of course, thank you for all of the folks that support our channel by sharing and liking and getting this out to people. Neil Nelson, thank you for that last minute support. I appreciate that. Make sure to, of course, go over and check out all of the different people that we recommend. Have a good night. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Is it gonna go on at some point? Everybody for being here. Make sure to join us over on Marfoogle Jams. We're going to continue the chat and everything over there afterwards. Nelson, Kenny Crowder, Ray the Way, Martin S, Zen1AZ, Ed Brown, Fairies of Venus, 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 ha, Fairies of Venus, ha, Fairies of Venus, ha, Fairies of Venus, ha, Mary's a Venus. Ha, ha. Mary's a Venus. Ha, ha. Mary's a Venus. Ha, ha. Neil Nelson, raid the way. Hardness will never fade away. Oh man, oh we did it, bro. Everybody, back down. Hey, I got love for y'all. Bring it back now, dance off. Hey, I with the bay now. Kenny on the crowd and I'm back now. Power and go some new house. Feel 5048 all loud. Hey, I with a feather and flower. Feather and flowers and clouds. Carol McLean, YMP, and that raid the way to I. With a true iris, I'm mountain time in the eye like ice. On the back with the eye horses, and a big man with a big man crest. Hey, I would go down now. Everybody up with the hip and brown. Hey, love you all. I'm back, and then I put my hand on back and I'm going out back. Bring it on and make it and I'm making I'm back. And then I put my hand on back and I'm going out back. Bring it on and make it and I'm making I'm back. And then I put my hand on back and I'm going out back.
On my back, around. Now let's all go take a trip. On the wall, on the chip, going back around. Now we.
Even if you left that way, I'd still.
Oh, I do have it. I do have it, Dex.
Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. Be a bad pandemic.
I gotta play this for a second because we're gonna use it for something.
Be on the pandemic. We'll be pandemic. We'll be on. Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. Be a bad mascot, take the mask off. Be a bad mascot, take the mask off.